Hello, everyone. This is Shadab Hussain here. Jamie is again out of the office this week. He'll be returning next week. But until then, let me cover all that happened this week. This was a week packed with lots of news and launches. So I'm going to try to be quick about those things so that we can cover everything within 30 minutes. Let's start with a quick teaser. Anthropic refuses unrestricted military AI use, but redefine the safety commitments. Anthropic also enabled remote local cloud code session with a remote control feature. They also acquired a company, Vercept. Perplexity was also in the news, but it launched autonomous computer agent called Computer for complex workflows. It also launched some embedding models, etc. OpenAI and Amazon made a strategic partnership announcement, and the Google was not behind. It launched Nano Banana 2. That and more. Stay tuned for a quick introduction. I'll be back. Greetings. Welcome to the AI Files podcast. If you're looking to stay up to date on the AI, this is the podcast for you. I'm Shadab Hussain. I'm the director of AI at Microsoft, and I'm your co host.
Hello, everybody. Jamie Basilico, as you know already. I'm the other co-host here for the AI Files. My day job is a data and AI technical specialist and architect. And as a reminder, please note this is not an official Microsoft channel, so the views and opinions expressed by myself and Shadab are our own and do not represent the views of Microsoft.
Okay, so let's start this week with the thought of the week. And I'll start with the Anthropic CEO, Dario Amodei, who said he cannot, quoting him, he cannot in good conscience accede to the Pentagon's request to give the military unrestricted access to its AI systems. Anthropic understands that the Department of War, not private companies, makes military decisions. However, in a narrow set of cases, we believe AI can undermine rather than defend democratic values. Some uses are also simply outside the bounds of what today's technology can safely and reliably do. So what happened was basically the Pentagon had asked Anthropic, who has considerable business with the government, asked Anthropic to drop some of those safety commitments and regulations which were preventing military use fully. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he gave Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei an ultimatum to roll back the company's AI safeguards or risk losing a $200 million Pentagon contract. The Pentagon threatened to put Anthropic on what is effectively a government blacklist. And these two cases are number one, mass surveillance of Americans, and secondly, fully autonomous weapons with no humans in the loop. Pentagon believed that it should be able to use Anthropic's model for all lawful purposes, and that its usage should not be dictated by a private company. Anthropic said it will separate its own safety plans from its recommendations for the AI industry. So they kind of, I would say, scale down some of their responsible AI commitment, where they had some specific mandate that the safety levels, as the model's maturity improves, they will put plenty of safeguards to ensure that it cannot be misused. And they had not defined all the different safety levels because that time it was a little bit too early, and all those safeguards were also not defined. But as they are making progress, the models are becoming better. This is the time now to actually make those safeguards. But then what Anthropic has done is basically relented on that a little bit, made that more like, okay, let's be more flexible. We don't have to stop everything. We can have our own restrictions. To the industry, we can put more like a non-binding recommendations. So it's kind of a little bit balancing mode. But I think when it comes to the Pentagon, things actually took, I would say, rather more heated turn. And Pentagon demanded that it has to drop its requirement, safety commitment requirement, which was preventing Pentagon to make full uses of those AI models. And finally, Anthropic took a stand and they say that it is not acceptable for us to, particularly these two use cases, relent. And these two are, as I said, mass surveillance, and the second is fully autonomous use of the AI as in the weaponized mode. And Anthropic's point is that mass surveillance, of course, undermine libertarian values. democratic values, and it's not in line with those values. And the fully autonomous use of the AI with no human in the loop is basically not fully reliable because the AI models still can make mistake, and it's not safely reliable enough that it can be used as autonomous weapon. What worried me, I think I would commend that Anthropic has taken some stand, because initially it looked like they will relent, but ended up taking some sort of a stand, and which was applauded by lots of people, including the engineers from OpenAI and Google as well. But I think what worried me is that the mass surveillance point, if this was a tussle, I don't know what is going on in terms of the mass surveillance, right? What is already effectively in place? Um, if it took a standoff, which means that it is already happening. So who knows what is going on? But this was the news of the week. Anyway, let's move on to the next news. Intuit and Anthropic, again, Anthropic is in the news, partner to bring trusted financial intelligence and custom AI agents to consumers and businesses. So this is targeted towards a mid-market business. And with this, what will happen is Intuit will provide a custom agent build platform for people with any skill. It could be pro dev or low code, or no code skill. You could develop your custom agent. What you can do is using the Anthropic SDK in that platform without too much of a dev skill, you can develop a custom agent which leverages your own company's domain knowledge and expertise. So combining your data, Anthropic's models and SDK, and you can combine any other context as well, and you're building a custom agent. So that's what basically this platform does. Yeah, so let's take an example. A regional restaurant group with 15 locations will be able to simply prompt Intuit Intelligence to orchestrate and deploy Claude within Intuit Enterprise Suite. The custom agent will be able to combine third party data from their own sales and inventory apps. They can bring that in and combine that with the Intuit data, such as expenses in whatever enterprise suite they're using, the expenses like food costs, payroll, workforce hours, etc. They can combine that and then analyze basically the margin variances, etc., and then identify underperforming locations. All that they can do within by creating this kind of a custom agent. So that's one example. Or it could be a regional construction. These are the examples that Intuit actually given in their announcement. A regional construction subcontractor managing $50 million in annual project volume will be able to create and deploy an agent that connects project timelines, lien waivers, customer communication, and subcontractor payments to their cash flow forecast, automatically flagging billing gaps, ensuring compliance deadlines are met, and helping businesses make informed decisions. On the other hand, within Claude, also you can actually make use of the Intuit insights. So, for example, when you go to the Claude in the Anthropic ecosystem, you can, through the MCP integration with the TurboTax, Credit Karma, QuickBooks, MailChimp, these are the Intuit platforms applications, you can actually use them when you are building your agents or any other application. So it's a bi-directional. In both the sides, differently you can use these services. So depending on what your use case is. But I would say it's a really good example of the new kind of platform that are emerging. It's not just simply a plugin, right? This is the entire platform we are talking about. It is a platform that all the different companies are providing their own kind of a agent development platform, which people can do in their own environment. They don't need to go outside to build those agents. Of course, it depends on now, it gets tied to the Anthropic. Maybe Intuit will also make that kind of partnership agreement with OpenAI and others as well. Now, in the other news, Claude or Anthropic also said that one of their new tool can actually analyze COBOL and can help automate the migration from COBOL. That affected IBM's stock. IBM share tumbled 13.2% on Monday. And this is the steepest drop since October 2000. So in 25 years, they haven't had a drop like this, but it drops just because there is another new AI tool in Cloud Code that can modernize the COBOL systems, which is a core IBM mainframe workload, which of course, which means that the IBM's business of mainframe could be threatened, right? Because if you migrate away from there, the challenge has been the mainframe, like companies wanting to migrate away, but it's been so complex that it hasn't worked. And there is still billions of dollars of business is existing in the mainframe. Anyway, um, IBM also said that, hey, this is nothing new. We even have our own tool as well, which are available to actually migrate from mainframe to the others as well. So it's nothing new. But then, this I think this is a trend that we're seeing, that as soon as any AI company comes out with a new plugin or tool, it kind of threatens the entire industry. I'm actually starting to doubt about um, the Wall Street, how the works. Um, they really understand how easy or difficult is it to do something? Just because something is launched doesn't mean it's adopted, and it doesn't work in a single day. Um, but I think it's more like the short term trading, which actually gets affected, which is primarily driven by the emotions. Anyway, moving on, Block, the payments company that operates Square, Cash App, and Tidal, is cutting more than 4,000 employees, nearly half its global workforce, taking it from over 10,000 workers down to just under 6,000. This is basically a company that was founded by Jack Dorsey, who had also co founded Twitter. I used to respect that guy, but I found this grotesque. This is like, because it's, he said that, and quoting him, repeated rounds of cuts are destructive to morale, to focus, and to the trust that customers and shareholders place in our ability to lead. He predicted that within a year, most companies will arrive at the same place. I would rather get there honestly and on our own terms than be forced into it reactively. He also said that these cuts are basically not driven by any financial needs. We just want to get done with it. Like, there was no imperative. It's not that they were going bankrupt or they were just in a huge fix. It's just that he said that, yeah, why not? If we can do it, why not? Now, plenty of these kind of layoffs have backfired in the past. We have seen many examples. But what is grotesque is, when there's no need, it's not just about simply getting rid of 4,000 people who are liability in your balance sheet. Those 4,000 families, effectively, you're basically cutting down. The way I see is, you are actually cutting out your 4,000 customers. They could be indirect customer, because when they make purchases at the grocery store, at the small businesses, those are using Squares or the Block company's product. And if these families cannot afford it anymore, those transactions are not going to happen. I just fail to understand why the greed overtakes the common sense many times in the corporate world. And particularly publicizing it is, I would say, disgusting, because it just impacts a lot of families. It impacts your own business. The companies, and there are studies like this, that the companies who do the layoffs do not necessarily, they actually do not improve. There has been considerable damage done on their product qualities, etc. And in the long run, it doesn't work as well. Anyway, moving on, unless, of course, it is absolutely required from a financial point of view. But in this case, it was not. Anyway, moving on. OpenAI and Amazon announced strategic partnership. So this was, I would say, this is quite stunning, although it is not very surprising. It is something that I have been expecting for quite some time. Because there have been lots of, I would say, rumors coming out that OpenAI and Amazon have been working and talking, etc. They have been wanting to do something. And ever since Microsoft and Anthropic made into a partnership, I think that kind of opened the door of previously non-working entities to start working together. So in this case, Amazon Web Services and OpenAI will co-create a stateful runtime environment powered by OpenAI models, and which will be available on the Amazon Bedrock for AWS customers to build GenAI applications and agents at production scale. Now, remember this: there is an exclusivity agreement between Microsoft and OpenAI. The stateless APIs, basically the APIs, those cannot run outside Azure. For example, you can run the Chat GPT application itself. OpenAI can run it anywhere on the Oracle Cloud or Amazon, etc. But they cannot run the APIs outside Azure. So even if this particular stateful runtime environment, whatever you call it, it's not even available right now. It's a few months out. That call will still go to the Azure OpenAI models, in the sense that it may go to the basically it will go through the OpenAI, but the models are still hosted in Azure. So it's not fully within the AWS. A stateful runtime only means basically that there will be a memory, tools, etc., context inside that environment. It's not just stateless. Generally, models APIs are simply stateless. They don't store the data and the memory that they are using, basically. But um, with this environment, it will retain the context, to retain the state of the, as we call it, data, memory, etc., context. AWS will also be the exclusive third-party cloud distribution provider for OpenAI Frontier. Frontier is a platform that OpenAI recently announced a few weeks ago, which basically is a platform to develop the application. And in the Microsoft world, it is something similar to Foundry, and a bit of Copilot Studio, I would say. So it is, of course, conflicting with Microsoft's own suite. So that's why it's not available in Azure. It doesn't need to be, because they already have plenty of Foundry and other platforms. So this will be available within AWS. It will be exclusive. OpenAI will consume 2 gigawatts of Trainium capacity, which is Amazon's chips, through AWS infrastructure to support demand for a stateful runtime environment, Frontier, and other advanced workloads. OpenAI and Amazon will also develop customized models available to power Amazon's own customer facing applications. So this will be, like, you can say, kind of a fine tuned model, but specifically done for Amazon. And then Amazon will also invest $50 billion in OpenAI. OpenAI just did a recent another round again, with Amazon, SoftBank, and others as well. Um, let's go through some rapid fire news. Meta and AMD are partnering for long-term AI infrastructure agreement. And in this case, basically AMD will power Meta's AI infrastructure with up to 6 gigawatt of AMD Instinct GPUs. Um, this is this partnership was announced earlier, but this time it is more granular commitment in terms of the numbers. There will be shipments to support the first GPU deployments that will begin the second half of 2026, and it will be built on the Helios rack scalable architecture that Meta developed and announced at last year's Open Compute Project Global Summit. The developers are opening their messages in counter to Claude complaining about distillation. So what happened was, Claude Anthropic actually released a news, and they complained about the Chinese companies DeepSeek, Minimax, and I think one more. They basically leveraging Anthropic models and using the distillation. Distillation is where basically you take a smaller model and train that on the output from the larger model. It helps you create a high quality, smaller and cheaper model. So distillation is becoming popular. So these companies, Moonshot, Minimax, and DeepSeek, they are basically using the cloud model. They were caught, as per the Anthropic claim, these labs generated over 16 million exchanges with Claude through approximately 24,000 fraudulent accounts and in violation of their terms of service. So the funny thing is that what people are really questioning is that, okay, Anthropic also train based on many times not properly procured data. A lot of books. Anthropic has been, not just Anthropic, actually, it's every company who's been having the AI models has been accused of this. In fact, that's why Meta used to claim that they have open source models, etc., and then open source institute said that no, it's only open weight. Open source mean also a lot of other things, and you don't provide your data sources that you have trained. No company is providing the data sources that they're training on. So plenty of question there. Actually, it's like, you know, basically it's question about calling the cattle back. Anyway, moving on. Anthropic is also acquiring Vercept. It is a company that builds AI that works directly on your computer. So basically, it uses a lot of computer use kind of use cases. It's and it's not on a cloud, but actually on your own computer, understanding your screen, your workflows, and your intent. And that's what they have been working on. So Vercept has been acquired. It makes sense because Anthropic is trying to now get more and more into the computer use kind of use cases with, after having mastered the coding kind of use cases already. Microsoft's new gaming CEO, Ashish Sharma, vows not to flood the ecosystem with endless AI slop. So Phil Spencer, who was Xbox head, has actually announced that he's retiring. He has been in company for I think almost 30 years, and he's going to retire. And Asha Sharma, who was actually the president of Core AI, she came from Instacart, and before that she has worked in Meta and previously at Microsoft as well. So she's pretty young, 37 years old, and she's going to be the head of the uh, Microsoft Gaming. Now, Xbox CEO. One of the things that people question is that does she even have the experience as a gamer too much? But she claimed that she has vowed that to make sure that we will not use the soulless AI slop. She says that we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art, crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided by us. That's it by Ashish Sharma. Moving on, in terms of the launches, Anthropic remote control. So remote control is basically on your desktop. You can run a screen, run a session on Anthropic Cloud, and you can then access that through, let's say, iPad or your iPhone or some other phone. You can access that, and then the messages are interchanging, so you can practically just basically work on it. It's highly in sync, and you can pass all your prompts and pass all the messages, and then it will execute on the desktop. Now just remember that it is not on the cloud. The session is actually running on your own desktop, so it's local, and then it is basically remotely being used by the user through the phone or mobile devices. So it has a lot of use cases where people are doing something, and then they are moving away or moving out and about, and then they can still use the phone to actually make sure that they're monitoring, etc., and they can continue to interact with it. If it can basically resume from where it left, in case the computer sleeps or is interrupted, the session is interrupted. um it's I think pretty handy, good, useful feature. Let's go to Perplexity. So Perplexity launched something called Perplexity Computer, and it basically is current AI capability into a single system. So it is a computer user agent that can execute complex workflows independently using 19 different AI models and creating sub agents to handle specific problems. And this tool is basically available on the company's highest subscription tier, which is $200 per month, Perplexity Max. It runs entirely in the cloud. It can do a lot of things. So it can run a lot of those, you can run some research, you can do few things. So some of the things that it can do is basically background tasks and continuous monitoring, right? You can set the recurring tasks that computer executes autonomously and persistently over time. You can also do the parallel research and browser automation, again, computer use related kind of use cases. Searching the web, automating browser actions, extracting data, and synthesizing findings in a single workflow. It can connect to the tools and the apps like connecting the Gmail, Slack, Notion, Calendar, and hundreds of others. And you can create production ready apps. So it's another platform basically that you are going to have where you can develop, you can do the task, you can set up some recurring activities, and it can use the sub agents to do things. So it's a combination of agents plus building the agent, as well as using even the browser automation using the computer use capabilities. Perplexity also launched what they call as basically embedding models. So these are state of the art embedding models for web scale retrieval. And Perplexity is claiming that they no more use actually the third party search solutions. They have developed their own, which is even better than the third party now. Of course, it has become a search company. It's an answering solution, so they have to do actually a lot of search. And I think they have developed those models. So embedding models are generally used to create the vectorization. It helps convert any text, etc., into a set of numbers, right? That's what the vector is. And by doing that, you can combine the query and the data and see which one is closer. And the numbers are assigned based on certain parameters. So something which are related will have a number closer to it, and that's how they basically match and find the relevant or related items. So these models are very helpful. They are very efficient. They basically is there are two variants of it. There's a uh, for the dense kind of like you can use one of the model Perplexity embed V1. It basically map queries and documents into shared semantic space where retrieval reduces to approximate nearest neighbor search. And the other model is for the context aware, right? So it can help you identify the context of the text that you're trying to actually search. So it can build the context around that text that you're trying to actually vectorize. So as per them, it's very efficient. It is available for use through the Hugging Face under MIT license and through the Perplexity API. Perplexity is also now integrated into all Samsung Galaxy S26 phone. So these phones, the Samsung, it actually has three assistants: Perplexity, Bixby, and Gemini. Perplexity and Bixby both are powered by Perplexity's search grounded LLMs. And you can basically take these phones and say, "Hey Plex," and then that's a wake word, and you can use a Perplexity engine on those phones. So they had to work with Samsung. They have the OS level access. Only other company, which other than the Google, who has OS level access on the Samsung phones, and they basically are trying to find more and more distribution channel where they can be default choices. Nano Banana 2 is here. Google actually launched Nano Banana 2. So which is now also Gemini 3.1 Flash image. You can also say that as a name. And it's the latest AI image generation model, which combines the pro level intelligence with Flash level speed. So there was a Nano Banana, which was really good, very efficient, very fast. And then there was the Nano Banana Pro, which was high quality image generation, but could be a little bit slower. Now, this Nano Banana 2 basically combine both the capability, like the pro level image generation at a very high speed. It has some really, really good features. It can create some really nice infographics, for example. It can create the visualization. It can have very precise, legible text rendering, which has been a challenge in the image generation generally. It can also translate and convert the text into multiple languages. Um, the other thing is that it can also leverage Gemini's own knowledge, and it can use the Gemini's own grounding to basically get the latest data, and it can build the images based on that. So it's been received well. It's now on the top of all the benchmarks in terms of its capability. So it's been a battle between Gemini and some of the models from Chinese companies like ByteDance, Seedrance, etc. It's like they keep releasing, and they, every other week there's another model that comes out on the top. One of the things that I also want to talk about this week is a use case about a company, GeoSpy AI. And my mind was blown when I learned about that. Basically, you can take any photo if it has some sort of a background to it, right? Like some sort of an outdoor background, which has, like, let's say, some tree or scenery or landscape. You can take that, and then you can say that, find me where it is from. Now the image doesn't need to have any metadata whatsoever. Any geographical information is not required. All that it will do is it will take that picture, and then it can search all across the globe, and it can find out where was this taken. You can do an approximation, or you can do a street level find as well. This already exists. This is already happening. GeoSpy AI, and the primary use case is for the governmental agencies to actually use this, even for the enterprise as well, to use this. And they claim that they have helped find a lot of missing people and also find a lot of fugitives. My mind is blown because some of the demos that you see, the a very small part of the image, outdoor, like whatever landscape, was enough to find where it is. It could be just simply a let's say a house on a street with like a garage. Is You can see the garage, or you can see some of the paint, some of the art, etc. And it could actually find just based on that. Mind blowing. So it, of course, as you can imagine, it can raise a lot of questions. It can be misused. So it is not easily available for people to use. But then, hey, the people who really want to make bad use of things, they are highly capable in terms of their technological prowess. So I hope this doesn't fall into wrong hands, because this can be used really, really nefariously. With that, that's a wrap. Lots of things this week, but I hope that you find it useful in this condensed 30-minute episode. With that, see you all next week.